So here's one of the biggest philosophies of life that I learned by living with a Buddhist nun, right? If you don't know me, my name is Aaron. I run this channel called Unconscious Flow, which is all about utilizing the conscious and unconscious mind for healing and transformation. And you probably didn't know this yet if you've been watching along. I've mentioned it a few times, but I haven't actually really gone into it, which is I used to live with a very senior Buddhist nun, me and a few other friends. This is a few years ago now. And her name was Sister Khema, Sister Khanti Khema, or Susana Dipika, and then her nickname was Khanti Khema. And you can look her up on YouTube, right? And we were living together. This is how I know so much about meditation and Buddhist philosophy and thought and how that informs therapy, because this is my education through her, right? And her philosophy, which is going to be very applicable for you watching this right now, was very, very simple. And she actually wrote a book about it, which is what we'll be talking about today. And this is one of the biggest big picture principles and philosophies that can impact your life and make your life just go from 0 to 100 in terms of harmony, ease, and just being at peace with yourself, despite maybe still having shadows, maybe still having issues, right? Because remember, we're not trying to be perfect. We're trying to still live the 100%, 100% in whatever metric you want to score that by, happiness or peace, despite having all of those things that we have to deal with. So what is it? Okay. It's something that she would call the Nevermind Game, right? And I'll explain that for you now. First of all, what you need to understand about the state of a lot of, at least Dharmic spiritual teachings, is it's very hard-headed and it's very focused. Single-pointed concentration is what it's known as in the community, right? Even though a lot of teachers might preach having a more open awareness, it actually very rarely gets translated into actual practice, right? Which is why, if some of you have been doing meditation for a long time, it can actually make you feel more stressed, or it leads to other issues, right? I mean, we've heard stories of people going into psychosis for excessive meditation, and it's for reasons such as this, right? So if you've been doing meditation, if you've been doing spirituality, whatever that means, and there's just something about it which hasn't fully been clicking, and you might feel great when you're doing the meditation practice or you're doing the spiritual practice, but then as soon as you actually have to go out into the real world, that's when it kind of falters. This is the thing for you, right? Now, she comes from a lineage, a Thai forest lineage, actually, Thai forest tradition. That's from her teacher, Bhante Vimalaramsi, came from. But then they split and they started up the Dhamma Sukkah Foundation, if you want to do some research on that, right? And that was really powerful for us because it was the first meditation that really emphasized relaxation of the mind and not just the body, okay? But she, if you know her, this will be very, how do I say this? This will be very relatable to you. She took it one step further, which is this Nevermind Game, right? Essentially what it is every time you get caught up in a thought, in this case, if you're informed by, shadow work, in a shadow, in an internal issue of any sort, right? Instead of trying to deal with it right then, this is the biggest big picture philosophy, remember, we're talking about, guys. This isn't like an intervention, which I have detailed in some other playlists. It is an intervention in terms of saying, okay, never mind, right? So there's 5 stages of this. It originally comes from the Dhamma Sukkah Foundation and their meditation twin, which is Tranquil Wisdom Insight Meditation. You can go and look that up. And it comes from a process called the 6 R's, right? Which is essentially, this is all free, so you can look this up, but it's 6 stages where when you catch your mind's attention wandering, you bring it back to the present. But unlike other meditation practices, where this is done in a really hard, forceful manner, this is done in a very gentle, relaxed manner. So you actually, every time you catch yourself, it actually gets you deeper into the meditation rather than taking you out of it, okay? She simplifies it even more, and she turns it into a game, right? So there's 2 aspects of this which can be applied just to life in general right now, which is the element of playfulness, remembering that this is all a game, right? It's not to trivialize anything that you're going through at all, right? It's nothing about trivializing. It's about coming with an attitude of lightheartedness, of playfulness, right? That's the first one. The second one is the actual never mind part, right? So what does this mean? Let's say you're getting really stressed about something, okay? Like let's say you have to do your taxes or whatever. Well, first of all, through the awareness cultivated from doing meditation, from doing shadow work, from doing any kind of internal practices, you will spontaneously recognize where you are. Okay? Oh, I'm in that thought pattern, right? Okay. So you realize that. You then the next stage is to release that. Release your attention from it as best you can. Okay, release. So it's like, okay, I'm caught in that thought pattern. Let me just release myself mentally, internally from that thought pattern, right? Third step is relax. Because what you'll find is even when you release yourself from the thought pattern, there will be most likely leftover tension in the mind and body from that, from being stressed, from being in that. So you need to make sure to take a moment to relax that. And this is when you say, never mind. It's the never mind game, right? So what goes wrong a lot of the time is a lot of people, what I'm saying right now, a lot of people already know, right? It's not revolutionary in a sense, right? The thing that makes this different is you're turning the fact that you're catching yourself into a game, into something that's playful, into something that's lighthearted. Whenever you turn something playful or lighthearted, it takes away the power from that thing, right? This is why humor and jokes, if you read the paper by Dr. Susanna Dipika on ego development theory, she says the higher somebody's internal development, right, the better they are at using humor one of the tools that they get access to is being able to be humorous when something bad happens, right? It's actually a high level tool to do that because it takes a certain level of development to not take everything so seriously, right? And we can cultivate that right now with the philosophy, applying a philosophy of the never mind game, right? Oh, this happened, never mind, right? It's okay, never mind. Release, relax, never mind. Come back to smiling, right? Which is another big part of that. Always come back to an internal smile, smile on your eyes, smile on your mind, smile on your mouth, smile on your heart, right? Those are the 4 different levels that you can go into. And then just go about your day. What it doesn't mean, because people get scared when I say this, well, does that mean I just accept whatever happens? I get lazy? No. The thing that you're saying never mind to is the suffering that you've just realized that you caught yourself up in. That's the thing you're saying never mind to. You're like, oh, I'm just so stressed. Oh, I'm stressed? Let me just release that. Let me relax the stress. And then if you don't say never mind, what happens with a lot of people is they blame themselves. Oh, I mean, I've been trying to stop getting stressed and I just do this, blah, blah, blah. And they start judging themselves, right? The never mind gets rid of the judgment, okay? A lot of the time when I'm working with clients, the second biggest thing, or maybe even the biggest thing, is not the actual shadow we're working with ourselves, not the actual shadow that they're working with, it's the judgment they have for them having that shadow, right? And so that can be, whether they smoke, whether they watch porn, or whether they, what's another one? Whether they want to go do something and then they don't, or they want to go start a hobby, or they want to go ask for a raise at a job, or they want to go do all this kind of stuff. There's the actual issue, yes, that we have to deal with, but then there's also the judgment. Oh, I'm just not, I always knew I was a coward. I could never ask my boss for a raise, right? Oh, I know, I can't believe I'm so fearful. I can't believe I'm such a, a coward, right? Like I just said before. That is just as harmful as the actual issue itself, right? So, by saying never mind, by making it playful, it doesn't give the space for judgment to even arise because you're already saying never mind. You're not saying never mind to the situation, right? You're not like, I can't ask my boss for a raise, never mind, I just won't do it. No, it's not like that. That's when it turns to apathy, right? Apathy is a separate issue. If you want to hear me talk about that, then we can talk about apathy, but obviously not in this video because that's a whole other topic, and it's a little bit tough to deal with, or you just need consistency really to deal with that, like with all things, right? So it's not an excuse for apathy at all, right? It's just about removing the judgment that we're placing on ourselves for something happening, and also allowing us to feel the lightheartedness and playfulness in that thing, right? Because it's us taking it seriously, which is giving that thing all of its power, right? Like like an example of, like when you were like a kid or something and you had a crush on somebody, right? He's just a kid, it's just like a playful crush, but because you let it go, you let it fester, you don't really know what to do, you just let it build and build and build and build and build until you've made asking this person out or saying that you like this person to a bigger deal than it actually is, right? Because you're taking it really serious. You're not able to see the fun in it. You're not able to see the playfulness, the lightheartedness, right? You make it something that it is not. That is what being serious does. And to say more about Sister Kema, we were there when she was kind of coming to the end of her life. And we were taking care of her. We were visiting her in the hospice every single day. Death was just around the corner for her, right? She was a Buddhist nun, in case I didn't make that clear. And never once was there a flicker of fear of death in that. To the very end, she was lighthearted. She was playful. She never stopped having fun, right? And by doing that, this fear of what was going to happen next, which so many of us have, which I know I still have, fear of death, right? In some form or another, it just didn't even arise for her, right? So how is this applicable for you right now watching this channel, Unconscious Flow? I know I have a lot of my clients watching this. I have some other people that are not clients yet, but just people who are interested in the channel, right? How does this apply for you? Playfulness, lightheartedness, turning it into a game, and not letting ourselves judge ourselves for X, Y, and Z. That's how it applies, and it gets summed up in the phrase that my teacher coined, the Nevermind Game. You're playing the Nevermind Game. Because here's the thing, you are playing that game whether you like it or not in this life. You can either choose to play another game or choose to think that you're playing another game, right? By being really hard and being judgmental on ourselves. Maybe we don't look a certain way that we want to. Maybe we don't make enough money, or we aren't in the job that we want to. We're not with the partner that we want to. Maybe we're not with a partner at all. Okay, right? And we can choose to be really hard on ourselves and judge ourselves for all of those things because we think that that's somehow going to make us more productive. Even though we've been doing all of those things up until now, and it hasn't worked, hasn't made us productive. We keep on doing the same thing expecting different results. Okay? So this framework and philosophy is a really good picture to apply to ourselves so that we don't get caught up in that pit that just goes round and round and round. That's that circle that just keeps going deeper and deeper and deeper down. A downward spiral of non-excellence, right? Opposed to an upward spiral of excellence, which one of my friends, Michael Collins, always talks about, right? So, how do we actually apply this to you? Well, I've given you before in the video the actual structure of what the actual Nevermind Game is, how she described it. She was saying it in the context of meditation, right? When you're meditating, and let's say your focus is on the breath or on the feeling of loving kindness, or metta, as it's known in the Pali or Sanskrit. I think it's the Pali, metta. And could be whatever. And then when your mind's attention wanders, instead of shoving it back and making it go really focused, you do all the steps that she laid out, right? Where recognize, release, relax, say never mind, smile, and then just continue, right? Here's the thing, there is no differentiation between meditation and life, okay? Life can be a meditative experience. It's not to say that obviously there's not a functional difference. You can sit in meditation and that can be really good. But we want to take away the divide from life and meditation as much as we can. We don't want to have to renounce the world, right? This is again something which is really influenced by one of my main mentors, Pierre de Souza, who I always talk about, right? It's always about taking that boundary out and allowing all of the cool stuff that we get from meditation and spirituality and shadow work, and actually it becomes functional in our life, right? So we take the philosophy, we take the principle. What's the principle behind it, right? Not taking things seriously doesn't mean that we don't move with a sincerity in life, but we don't take things seriously. We're doing that not because taking things serious are bad, but because when we take things serious, we get really rigid and we give things so much power over us, right? That's the reason. It's not because of like some philosophical like, oh la 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 thing. It's because there's actually a functional reason why we would do that, right? Which I just laid out. If you have any questions on that or you want to debate, let me know in the comments below. I'm happy to go back and forth. I'm happy to be proven wrong, okay? But so far, this is a conclusion which is most functional in the world. So we're talking about it in that way. And second of all, we are saying never mind, like, oh, never mind, so that judgment doesn't become almost as big or a bigger issue as the issue in and of itself, right? So we don't allow ourselves to judge ourselves, which just takes extra mental energy, extra mental RAM, doesn't motivate us. In fact, it actually demotivates us all the time, being judging towards ourselves. And it's just not useful, right? And that's how we move forward from this, right? And actually, when I'm working with clients, this is something which develops very naturally. When we talk about it, individually too, but it's something that happens very naturally as we start to let go of shadows, as we start to let go of unconscious blocks, because we start to understand the nature of what keeps something stuck within us, of what keeps something really, what keeps like unconscious beliefs inside of us. And once we understand that process of how to actually let go of shadows, let go of beliefs, we automatically start taking our storylines much less seriously, because we see how they were just constructed and how they're not actually us. They've got nothing to do with us, right? So this happens very naturally. And also, it's kind of like the graph which just goes up like that, exponential growth, right? If this concept is really internalized within you, all of this stuff on the channel is so much easier. So much easier to do shadow work. It's so much easier to be open and listen to maybe the more conscious coaching principles I do, where instead of you have all this resistance to actually just letting that knowledge sink in and acting from that and that becoming embodied, it just becomes much easier, because overall there's much less attachment to your own judgment and to your own views, okay? So if you have any questions to this, please let me know in the comments. I'm happy to do a video response, which is what I'm doing for people who seem to be really engaged, and to help them out. If you want something that's a little bit more, I do have my one-on-one link to book a call in the description below. No money up front, it's just like a 30-minute chat, which isn't any hard selling. I don't do hard selling or sales. It's just seeing where you are, learning a bit more about me. I learn a bit more about you and your journey, and then we come together to come up with a game plan about how to actually move you from step A to B, or step A to Z is really what it is, in a very low pressure environment. And if you're not ready for that, I have this YouTube channel for that very reason, and you can just watch any of the free videos that come out here, of course. But yeah, the main two things are comment, so we can have a little bit of a dialogue, or one-on-one link. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next video.